Hey students, we're going to talk about some coding and a major project that you'll be working on. So what I've done is open my PRG AI block. You can get that through your email that I sent you, or if you have it saved on your um, desktop. So first thing I'm going to do is, we could use this guy or not. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So what we're going to be doing is doing some AI coding to display emotion. And I'm going to pick one to start out with. After I move this out of the way, upload my block. So I'm going to come down here and click my face sensing and my body sensing. I'm going to roll the dice. Roll the dice here. And I'm going to bring up the hand sensing. We'll see if this freezes today. And I'm going to show you a trick. So right now you can see what's behind me. You can actually, because my video is on. I'm going to bring over right here. This says turn video off. Click. It's right here on off. You can see how we got on and on flipped. Our computers, we don't have a camera on the backside, so we don't have that option. It's not going to work for us. So I'm just going to click this block, and it turns my camera off until I'm ready to use it. And I wanted to show you guys this. I've had some issues a couple of times with that freezing the camera in general or the program, but I'm just going to kind of roll with it. I'm going to put this right back down here because I won't need it. So this will save you from having just to put the little sticky note over your camera. You can just do everything you want to do until you're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select an emotion. We're going to bring up a sprite, and we're going to program it to work with our camera. Okay, so I am going to select a sprite, and I'm going to choose, let's see, I know there's a heart. There we go. I'm going to choose a heart. And I am going to do using the smile, since we did that with our other project with the party hat. Now it's going to be your decision to keep the size or if you want to change it. So what I'm going to do, since I'm going to make this kind of a joyful thing, I'm actually going to still use this one here. I'm going to show you how to use the event block when smile detected. And then I'm going to talk to you about the pros and cons. So I'm going to just bring that over right now. I'm also going to bring over the control block. We're going to need the forever block. And I'm not going to connect anything yet because that's part of the explanation about how quickly this will detect things. And I'm going to bring over an if else because we're going to have it, if it's true, to do one thing, if it's not true, to do another thing. Now, if my if statement to see if something's true or false is going to be expressing smile. And yes, I know this says when smile is detected, we're going to do something, but I want to have more control of it than have it work really fast. So if expressing a smile, then we are going to do something. I'm going to have this heart spin. Okay. So I'm going to come up here to the motion blocks because this is where things move around. Remember, we used the move 10 step blocks that we changed to have sprites just move across the screen. We had the random position and we had all these other specific things. So I'm going to bring over one of the two rotation blocks, and it's up to you. Now, I want it to do this more than just that. I want it to do it multiple times so it actually spins all the way around. So to do that, I need a repeat block, and that's in controls. So I'm going to bring this over and put that right into here. And to see how that works, I'm going to make this back to 90 degrees. I'm just going to click on this block and see what happens. So that's where it stops. So that's not even a full span. So that already tells me I want to choose something with more repeats. 10's not going to cut it. I could probably do 20. We'll see what happens. So 20 almost gets us here to the 90 degree. I can easily come over to motions, bring the, here we go, point in 90 degree direction, and tell it to do that right afterwards. And I'll show you how that looks as opposed to just adding more repeat blocks or a higher number. See how it snapped it here, no matter where it's at. Which this is a really, really important block to have when you're dealing with sprites that are rotating or moving around or flipping, and you want them to be in a 90-degree box, so to speak. So if I take this away and I even up this to 30, it depends on how fast you want it to rotate. So you can see that's still like that. I can put my 90 back there. So this is going to be a number that you decide. I just wanted you to see some examples as opposed to 10, 20, and 30. It doesn't matter which direction you want to rotate. That is a personal preference. This isn't a situation where you have to turn a certain way. If it was, it's up to you. Let's see, we can go back that way and it ends. So I'm going to leave this up to you. Just like the size is up to you. I'm going to place this right inside of the if statement right underneath the expressing smile block. So now what are we going to do if we're not expressing a smile? If expressing a smile is false, so it's a frown or your mouth is at a straight line, we're going to have it do something else. It's not going to spin 30 times and then point like this in a 90-degree direction. I'm going to have it just go to a random location. And once it goes to that random location, I'm going to ask it to wait and then hide. And let's see, that sound right here, hide. Now remember, anytime you bring a hide block over to use, you've got to tell it to show at some point. So I would want to bring a show block right up here. So when I'm smiling, it's going to show, then do over this. If I'm not smiling, it'll go to a random location, wait for what I want it to wait, and then hide. I'm going to have it do a shorter wait, so I'm going to cut that time in half. Instead of a full second, a half a second. And then I'm going to slide this into my forever block. Now, if you wanted to always hide at the very beginning, we'll talk about that, but I want to show you what happens when we connect it to this event. I'm going to have to turn the camera on for that. So I'm going to bring over each one of these different sensing blocks has a turn video on off. Okay, change that to on. Click it. And there we go. So right now, this is what we have. I'm going to smile. So you see what happens? It comes on when you smile. It rotates. And since I keep smiling, it's going to keep reading all of this code, but reading the part that I'm telling it what to do if it's true that I'm smiling. See, I blocked the smile. So that's something we can do. And then it rotates to, or it goes to a random position and does what it's supposed to do. Now, as you can see, you can't see the smile, and that's why it went to a random place, then hid. So, but notice how this is still all yellow. That is because it's still reading everything. So, sorry about that, it's my dogs. So that's the only thing. When we use this sensing block as our event block for when something's going to happen, like right now, it doesn't see me smiling, but it's just running. It's really messed up, so it doesn't know what it's supposed to do. It's a really quick trigger. So that's why if we wanted to do something really fast, we could. But instead of doing that, instead of having that as our control block, I'd rather it be controlled in the event with when the green flag is clicked. So that way it gives it a moment to not be there. And since it's going to show possibly just like it is right now, if I bring over a hide block and put it right, I'm going to put it right here. I believe that's the best place to put it because I want it to read this forever. If I put this hide block, let me show you. If I don't put it inside the forever block and I only put the hide block between forever and the event block, it's only going to read it one time. We want it to read it all the time. So I'm going to slide it in here, put that there, And then hopefully my dogs won't bark. I'm going to turn the video back on, and I'm going to click the green flag. So you notice when I clicked the green flag, it immediately it turned yellow around here because it's reading all of the code. And you may be thinking, why is it taking so long to stop and go to when I'm frowning? Because it's not immediate when you frown that this code is just going to stop. That is because it's got to read this. I've got a 30 number repeat here, turning it, and then it's got to point in this direction before it gets to this point to go back and realize, oh, you're not smelling anymore. I have to go from all of this code to this code. So depending on how many times you smile and what it picks up, it's got to read all of what's true before it can read what's false. So what you're going to be doing, and this is my example, this is what I would call the bare minimum. This is having your sprite show, do a little bit of a rotation. If you're not smiling, then it would go to where it would hide. And you could always make it a wait button here to make it hide longer before it could show. But I really wouldn't do that because it's going to come right back up here reading, to be hidden until you smile. You can take this out, but the thing is, if you don't have a hide button up here when you first click your event block, which is whatever is starting your program, if the last time it was up here it showed, it's going to be showing. So that's going to be something you as a developer of your program will have to decide. So you're going to select 3 different emotions. So we'll talk about the different emotions. You get love, anger, sadness, I guess just meh, however you want to do that. You're going to look at the face sensing blocks, click on here. What are our options? Maybe, your emotion is going to be expressed with eye closure or eyebrows raised. You're going to use one of these different expressions. You see the same thing here, different expressions to showcase your emotion. So that's up to you. If you want to just like the amount, we can get into that, but that's going to be going with operators, and we're not talking about that. So you're looking at expressing some type of facial expression for one of your blocks that's going to express the emotion you're going to display. Other things you can think about, since this is the bare minimum and this is just my code. So that's the idea, is we don't copy Miss Dunn's code for every single one and do them all exactly the same. That's not taking that next step and being creative and showing me you understand how to use the code. Other things you can think about on looks, maybe your emotional sprite is going to say something, at some point. I'm just going to say I'm happy with this one, and just depending on what it is and how long it's going to say. Maybe it's going to say something. Maybe this way you can express what your emotion is. You can also use the think block instead of the say block. Maybe you want it to switch costumes. Think about how it would switch costumes and when you want it to switch a costume. How many times you'd want it to switch a costume before it does something else. So I'm doing everything inside this if block. On the else, maybe you don't want it to hide. Maybe you want it to do something else. Maybe that's when it changes costumes and says something. These are just ideas. We have sounds. I'm going to suggest not using this right now. I've been experimenting with the sounds. With the sound and the coding, you have to have it in a forever block. And for it to feel like it's working correctly, it's going to take longer to read the code. You'd have to do a whole separate box. You could not put the sound in here for it to work properly. it gets tricky because these blocks need to be coded a certain way. But you've got so much to use in your motion, the dark blue and the purple. You've got changing color effect. You can do more than just change the color effect. If you do that, now ghost is exactly what it says. You're not going to see it. But changing the color is always really cool. You don't have to use 25%. You can change that to whatever. You experiment. Setting size or changing the size. Positive number, it's going to get larger. Negative number, it's going to get smaller. If you decide to use a block like this or even the color effect, think about, do you want it to go back to the original size at the very beginning or not? So if my heart's a size 100 and I decide it is going to grow by 10, I am going to want to always set the size at the very beginning. You could be right at the very beginning, or you could put it inside, so that way it always goes back. This would be a good idea because it could get too large. We'll experiment with that right now, and we'll see what happens if we make it too small. So I've got the video turned off. I'm going to turn it on. We're going to test the program. All right, click go. So you see, this is the same size. What I'm going to do really quickly is we are going to take that out. We're going to pretend we're not going to set the size, that it'll be whatever it is. Because see, right here, you can see where it's gone up to 110. See right here, it's 120. It's gone up to 130. So it's only increasing by 10 pixels at a time. And if you wanted to do something by negative, we'll make it more drastic. I'll make it a negative 20. I'm going to stop it to clear the code, then read it again. So see, it went from 130 to 110. All right. So you can see I was going to keep dropping. So if you're going to do that, you have to think about, how am I going to get it back to the original size? What is my original size? Because, of course, eventually it's going to be 0 and it's going to be gone. Okay. So like I said, if you want to set the size, because you're going to change it, you got to use the set size and decide, is it going to be every time you start over or only at the very beginning? That's the difference between putting it on the inside of the forever block or on the outside. So I've given you some ideas. I know a couple of you guys have used the switching the backdrop based on things too. That's an option. This is a very basic. If you only copy my code, then that we are looking at, I'm going to run it up there in the 70s, because this would just be duplicating exactly what I have and not trying to do something different. And remember, we're going to have 3 sprites for your emotions, and you're going to decide how you're going to express that emotion. Nose wrinkle, it can be anything. Now, your sprites don't have to represent the emotion, but you're going to tell us. I could use anything. I might say a balloon is going to express my happiness. All right. And they have a lot of different costumes too. But you think about how it can move around, how it can change, we're going to understand what your emotion is. All right. Now this will be a major grade. I'll be checking on your progress each day for your daily grades, helping you with a little bit of debugging. I suggest that you make notes of your code. The example here, since I'm not finished, I would come in here, clean up blocks, we'll straighten everything up. Add comment would be me to come in here, need to code, balloon to show. I stated emotion. You think about your emotions. We will brainstorm a list of suggestions in class. but you decide what you are going to express. You've got your regular basic ones, but even if you want to express something like joy, maybe being emo, I don't know, I'm thinking all kinds of stuff like that. Think about how you're going to do this, and then we will have a showcase. All right, good luck. Let me know if you have questions.